By now, it should be clear that physical silver is built for ownership, not for trading, not for speed, and not for convenience. But that's where some confusion can come in. Because when people say they own silver, they could be talking about very different things, even though they're using the same word. And now that we're clear on what physical ownership actually is, the other ways that people choose to get exposure to silver stop feeling so mysterious, and they start to look like tools designed to solve different problems. So far, we've been talking about physical metal, ownership, friction, and why silver behaves the way it does when you hold it directly. But not everyone gets into silver for ownership. What some people really want is price exposure, flexibility, the ability to get in and out of trades cleanly. And once we understand what we want out of our investment, the rest of the silver landscape starts to make a lot more sense. Now let me sketch this out real quick. And this isn't a ranking, it's just a map of the landscape. We'll start with physical silver here, because it's about ownership first. It's slow by design, and there's friction involved. But there's no counterparty, and that's the trade-off we've talked about before. Silver ETFs exist for people who want price exposure without ownership. They're liquid, they're easy to trade in and out of, but you're not holding metal. What you have here is a share of a fund that does own the metal, so when the price of the metal moves, so does your share price. Mining stocks are businesses first and foremost. These are the companies that get precious metals out of the ground. Their profits are tied to metal prices, which is why their share price can move more than the metal itself. But they also carry business risks. If picking individual stocks sounds overwhelming, well, that's pretty common. Some people choose to get around that by using a basket instead, or an ETF of mining stocks. It's a fund that holds a mixture of mining stocks together. This is an ETF that's composed of mining stocks, and it gets you into this part of the game without having to pick individual names. The ETF does the work of picking the mining companies that go into the basket. Now you may notice a pattern here. As we move across this, we're getting further away from direct ownership of metal, and options sit further away from ownership and further out on the risk curve. These are contracts, and they're time-based, meaning they literally come with expiration dates. They're not for everybody, and they're not something we're going to unpack here today. I'm just naming where they sit in this landscape. And it's easy to run into problems here if we start to expect one of these tools to do a job it wasn't designed for. You may have heard people talk about mining stocks and options as a way to get leverage on the price of precious metals. And what they're saying is that physical silver and gold move dollar for dollar, but the profits of a mining company don't. Small changes in the price of the metal can have a big impact on the profits of a mining company or the value of an options contract. And that's what people mean by leverage. Now, that leverage does go both up and down, and that's why these investments carry a lot more risk. None of these tools are any better or worse than another, and none of them have to be an all or nothing approach. They're just answers to different questions and tools that serve different goals. Where we run into problems is when we expect one tool to do a job that it was never designed for. If any of these stood out to you, whether ETFs, miners, or something else, let me know in the comments what you'd like to slow down and look more closely at. Not as advice, but just to take things one piece at a time. For now, this is more about orientation and seeing the map more clearly before we decide where to spend more time. And in the meantime, thank you for watching. My name's Kevin. This is Ounces and Options.